Hello, my name is Tab Parr and I'm going to present Block 3. My study is on interprofessional education, or IEP, and digital literacy. Before I continue presenting the study, a review of the synopsis is required. The purpose of the study is to find out what skills or literacies are required to participate in healthcare simulations. Simulators are used in a variety of education and training environments that are seen as high-risk professions and disciplines like healthcare, aerospace, and the military. The World Health Organization, WHO, in 1988 found that traditionally each member of a medical team was educated and trained within educational silos, where each individual holds a vast amount of education in their specific profession, but lacked the skills to work as a team. This caused many errors. Simulations where teams of professions are asked to deal with a crisis situation were developed. These simulations require the use of complex and sophisticated tools for communication. They use both human and technical components to achieve this. This increased need to train healthcare workers in an interprofessional team requires an infrastructure that is highly technical. It requires both human and social skills and a workplace with a culture of quality improvements focused on patient safety. Medical students train in a simulation which can be seen as a safe environment where errors are allowed to occur without causing any real harm to the patient, which in this case is a life-size mannequin, which is presented later on. So education in healthcare is an area that requires that students develop a lifelong learning strategy to become professions in their chosen field of healthcare. The research question is, what are the key components of digital literacy in healthcare simulation environments? What are the barriers to creating simulations? Is the second question. The data is collected using qualitative data collection methods of field observations, unstructured interviews, audio recordings, and transcription. The data is analyzed through textual analysis of the interviews using qualitative coding of the data. This coding helps to group the data into themes or categories and to find relationships between these categories. The second slide, digital literacy. Here is a picture of the main components of digital literacy, or literacies. It is also noted that there is no real consensus on these components. Well, given the constantly evolving nature of technology, the acquisition of digital literacy skills becomes a process of lifelong learning. Digital literacy leads to greater increase in information that can be easily shared and quickly accessed. This allows for greater collaboration and sharing of knowledge. The picture represents the different components of digital literacy. The three main components of ICT innovation: constructive social action, critical thinking skills. This picture will be presented later. Some definitions of the terms that are used in the simulation study. Patient safety. The World Health Organization defines patient safety as freedom for a patient from unnecessary harm or potential harm associated with healthcare. Simulation. Simulation has been defined as a process that attempts to artificially recreate characteristics of real-world scenarios in order to study the response or experience to the artificial scenario of a real-world process. A simulation is the interaction of people in an environment, so it is largely a social. Interprofessional education, or IPE. Interprofessional education occurs when two or more professions learn with, from and about each other to improve collaboration and the quality of care. This is the definition WHO gave in 1988. CRM, or Crisis Resource Management, which is a framework for reducing, preventing and learning from errors within healthcare. CRM provides a set of tools for reducing human factor induced error. The World Health Organization in 1988 developed a campaign to improve patient safety in healthcare. There were many studies done, and some studies found that 70 to 80% of medical errors are related to human error. Well, in 2000, the Institute of Medicine released To Err is Human, which asserts that the problem with these medical errors is not that there are bad people in healthcare, it is that good people are working in a bad system that needs to be made safer. This led to the idea of designing the system so as to limit the risk of errors from developing, and this led to the focus on human factors research. Simulation. SimMan 3G. This is the mannequin that is used in the simulation. There are many different types of mannequins, but I will introduce SimMan 3G, which is the mannequin that was used in these simulations that were in the study. In this slide we see the central tool in a high fidelity simulation, the mannequin, which in this case is SimMan 3G. The mannequin is used to replace the patient. This simulation tool, the mannequin, allows the interprofessional team to experience a range of different medical scenarios. The features of SimMan 3G are presented in the next slide, but here we see the basic technical infrastructure of the patient mannequin. One is the mannequin itself, and the picture beside the drawing is how the mannequin looks like in real life. Two, we have the instructor laptop, which the simulation technician or instructor controls the vital signs of the mannequin with, so heartbeat can be changed, breathing, and so on. Number three is the patient monitor, which displays a different picture. This is the picture that students see in the simulation. Number four is the switch box, which connects the different parts of the simulation infrastructure. The cables then connect the simulation components together. Now we can get a picture of what the SimMan can do.
Hello, and welcome to the Center for Simulation-Based Learning's Orientation Video Series. To make each learning opportunity as valuable and meaningful as possible, it is important that you understand the capabilities of your patient simulator, along with the expectations for your actions during a medical simulation. This video is your introduction to Laerdal's SimMan 3G, a wireless high-fidelity patient simulator. SimMan 3G is a computer-controlled, full-body adult mannequin with realistic anatomical landmarks that can simulate a wide variety of lifelike physical findings. While the simulator is able to detect certain medical interventions, its capacity to respond is limited and instead relies on a simulator operator to drive the appropriate underlying physiologic changes. These changes may be observed on an accompanying clinical patient monitor that will display appropriate vital sign tracings and values, including electrocardiogram, oxygen saturation, and arterial blood pressure. SimMan 3G has a large number of features that include the ability to produce different sounds, an anatomically correct airway, spontaneous breathing with chest rise and fall, measurable cardiac rhythms, and other clinical signs. Embedded beneath the skin are a series of small speakers that produce normal and abnormal heart sounds, lung sounds, and bowel sounds. Corticoff sounds may also be heard when taking an oscillated blood pressure in the left arm. Interacting
I want to start off by talking about the touchscreen monitor for the SimMan. You can actually just touch the monitor things as you would in one of the patient care units, and the waveforms will come up. As you can see, we have a wide variety of parameters that we can use. And so now I'm going to let the SimMan talk to you.
Hello! My name is SimMan 3G, and it's a pleasure to meet you. My friends at Leardall asked me to explain a few of my key features. You and I are going to work very closely during your simulation training.
Simulation. Here we see two pictures. The first picture is SimMan stripped down to its components. You can see the different parts in this picture. The second picture is from inside the control room, which is a separate room that is behind a one-way mirror. The simulation takes place in the simulation environment on the other side of the mirror. As you see in the second picture, there is a group of nurses and doctors around the simulated patient, or SimMan 3. Methods. The study uses qualitative methods, ethics, and consent from the participant is gained using a formal letter of consent, and I cannot go into any detail about the simulation itself. Respondents. There were 12 students respondents, 4 student nurses in their 6th term and 8 medical students in their 11th term, and 2 to 4 facilitators who were all experienced nurses and doctors. Unstructured interviews and naturally occurring data were collected. Naturally occurring in that the data generated is not initiated by me, but arise from the interaction of students and facilitators in the simulation environment. Ethnographic inspired field study, where I took the part of a participant observer following the facilitators. Group examination is recorded and transcribed and coded using content analysis. Template analysis, which is used as a coding template or hierarchy of codes. This is done in a computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software called Atlas TI. I used version 6.2. The next slide shows what Atlas TI looks like, and here is what the relationship in the coding templates look like. Coding template. Here you can see the hierarchy in the coding network. Atlas TI can map the relationships in the template coding to produce a structure. In this picture you see the complex nature of the relationships of the interprofessional learning simulation presented here in this network of relationships. The central component of the simulations have more links to coding template. Here is the same template simplified to produce a hierarchy of themes. This helps to answer the first research question: what are the key components of digital literacy in a healthcare simulation environment? So here we can see the main theme of teams or collaboration, the sub-themes of structure and rules that go under teams, the main theme of team or collaboration, sub-themes of structure and roles which go under the main theme of team, the main theme of assessment, formative and summative, and the sub-themes of reflection and motion, the main theme of tools. Tools in this case are both technical and cognitive, the sub-themes of algorithms and frameworks. One such algorithm is CRM, which was a central tool for communication and for error management. ABCDE, which stands for airway, breathing, circulation, disability and exposure, is a common algorithm used by both nurses and doctors and is critical for patient assessment. SPAR, which stands for situation, background, assessment, recommendation, is a technique that provides a framework for communicating between members of the healthcare team. Team collaboration, role-playing and structure are used by interprofessional teams to collaborate. This collaboration occurs through the use of roles that are related to rights, responsibilities that are connected to social awareness and identity creation. Teams pool their knowledge and resources by building hierarchies or structures that are built on the roles. For example, the professional role of nurse or doctor, and also the role of leader or worker. Judgment and problem solving also occur within the simulation. Reflection is a component which is needed for ongoing team and also for professional lifelong development. Safety and security are also found in the simulation environment in examples such as checking for vital signs. Safety and security are also found in the simulation environment in examples such as checking vital signs on the patient monitor and the patient's information such as blood type. There is a large element of role-playing involved in a simulation as students take on roles other than that of the different professions, such as roles of relatives or friends of the patient. Facilitators take the role of the game master, creating a summary of the simulation environment, the different roles, specific conditions which the different roles use to interact and construct social action through. The simulation unfolds as patients interact with each other in the simulation story or scenario. The goal is not to win, instead the goal is the patient receives the best healthcare possible in that given context. This goal requires critical thinking or creative thinking in the areas of creativity, simulation and decision making. Tools and know how to use them. Tools in this case are technical tools, cognitive tools and contextual tools. There are technical or digital tools that are specific to a profession and or role, and there are tools that are used in specific contexts. For example, nurses use digital tools to process blood tests, and doctors use digital tools for information on medication and for gathering, checking and verifying patient information. An example of a contextual tool is when the doctor reviews the patient's journal, it can be digitally or through paper, before meeting the patient. This is to get a picture of the patient's history and background. But in a crisis, the doctor has not got the luxury to go to the computer to get a patient history, so he has to rely on the patient or other team members for that information. So that is contextual. Assessment. Assessment occurs in the simulation but is enabled by the use of the mannequin. The students go through experiential learning, and the goal is to enable reflection and being able to handle a stressful and emotional situation with all the pressures the crisis situation entails. Assessment is non-punitive and is designed to provide positive feedback to students. This is so students can reflect and develop learning strategies that align with Cobb's learning cycle, which is a reflective learning cycle, and teachers actively ask students to reflect on their decisions and actions. What are the barriers for creating simulations? There are several barriers that are not identified in the interview data but have been presented in research literature. These are social-cultural barriers, economic and political. Barriers such as the factor of time in getting the physical equipment and technology working and in place is one barrier. The barrier of space. A lot of space is needed to run a simulation. There are also barriers in human factors such as engaged students, trained staff to man and facilitate the simulation. One of the barriers that was identified in the coding was that of information overload as a result of stress or emotional factors that caused students to reach a barrier where information could not be absorbed. The study was limited to a local institution, one locality, or a simulation center, and can't be really used to generalize the findings, but it gives a localized view from the context of that institution that was studied. Thank you, and the end.